Culture is the totality of the way of life of a particular people. It encompasses their customs and traditions, their languages, festivals, marriages, burial rites, attires, cuisines, and nuances. Nigeria, with her hundreds of indigenous ethnic groups cutting across various regions, is endowed with one of the most diverse cultural landscapes in the world. Over the years, the country has witnessed the erosion of some of these rich cultural heritages, with many of the various indigenous languages fast disappearing. Welcome to Impact Nigeria, your weekly guide on our journey of self-discovery and value reorientation. I am Diva Hamachion Mom, your host. Our focus on today's episode of the program is the place of culture and tourism in national development. I will be back after this break. Welcome back. The negative impact of globalization on indigenous cultures across the globe cannot be overemphasized, as many people, particularly in developing nations, sideline their culture and tradition in the name of modernity. More and more people are abandoning their age-long values by cutting ties with their roots and embracing Western culture in its totality. The attendant crisis of identity is becoming more evident as many of our local languages go into extinction. Our background report offers useful insights into the value of culture in our quest for national development.
The heartbeat of every nation. The mirror that reflects who we are, where we come from, and what we stand for. Our culture, our pride. Culture is the rhythm that connects our steps, the thread that weaves our tribes into one cloth of nationhood. It speaks through our dance, our languages, our food, our music, and so on.
All the way from Nasarawa State, for the first time, International Museum Day celebration has taken the culture of Papa
binds us together and shapes our national identity. Culture is not just about dance or dressing. It influences our values, our creativity, and even how we approach development. From creative industries to entertainment, culture fuels economic growth. For instance, Nollywood is one of the largest film industries in the world, employing thousands and promoting Nigeria globally. Same with our indigenous music industry. When culture is preserved through education, it builds pride and unity. It encourages innovation by connecting modern development with traditional wisdom. Culture drives tourism, attracts investment, and strengthens national unity. It reminds us that development is not just about roads and building. It is also about people, identity, and shared values. Remember, as Nigerians, let's continue to grow our culture to maintain our national development. A nation that values its culture values its future. Culture, our living story, our beating heart, our heritage, our strength, our tomorrow.
Now, apart from the rich cultural heritage that the nation can boast of, Nigeria is also well endowed with a lot of attractive tourist sites, from the various palaces and museums across the country to the numerous beaches, as well as the rich flora and fauna begging for tourists in many states of the Federation. The huge tourism potential cannot be overemphasized. Our next report highlights the country's tourism potential.
Nigeria, a giant of Africa, is certainly blessed with enormous resources, both in human capital and natural resources, that would have turned the country into one of the leading economies of the world. The nation has struggled not just to harness its huge potentials, but to equally diversify its economy without much success. One sector that have often been overlooked by successive administrations is the tourism sector. With a massive tourist attraction scattered across the country, from rich flora and fauna to historical heritage dating back several centuries, as well as a rich retinue of cultural activities all year round, Nigeria is indeed blessed with untapped gold mine waiting to be explored. According to a 2017 tourism report by the World Economic Forum, travel and tourism contributed just about 2% to Nigeria's GDP compared to other African countries such as Seychelles, Cape Verde, and Mauritius, where the travel and tourism industry has been better harnessed, contributing 20%, 17%, and 12% respectively to their GDP. The Travel and Tourism Industry Competitiveness Report for the same year also ranked the country at a 129th out of the 136 countries, compared to Ghana and South Africa, which ranked 120 and 53rd respectively. Factors responsible for this low ranking include low prioritization of the tourism industry by the government, poor infrastructural facilities, and security challenges. All these have resulted in an inertia towards tourism in the country, leading to an outbound travels to destinations like Ghana and South Africa, among others, with the resultant loss in revenue. A trip across the country will reveal one of the greatest reservoirs of tourist sites scattered all over Nigeria, starting from the nation's commercial nerve center of Lagos to the coastal line of the South-South to the Asian museums in the Northwest and the fascinating rock formations on the plateau.
Welcome back. Now, joining us to x-ray the issue of how Nigeria can integrate culture and tourism into her overall development plan is a culture enthusiast and a major player in the nation's tourism ecosystem. Our guest is David Atta, the Chief Executive Officer of True North, an entity committed to championing the repositioning of tourism and of our tourism destination and events. It's good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
So we've been having a look at all these beautiful reports showcasing our culture, our dances, our traditional music, and all of this. But at the end of the day, what really is culture?
Culture is what you've said. It's the totality of the ways of life of a group of people.
That is inherent to them specifically.
Yes.
So having determined what culture is, we certainly know that we don't lack that in Nigeria.
We do not in any way.
We have so many ethnic groups and each come with their own culture and things like that. Is there any relationship, would you say, between the moral crisis we're currently experiencing in the country and the distance we have created between ourselves and our indigenous culture?
Yes, there definitely is. If you say that culture is the way of life of a people, if people are cut off from their culture, from their roots, from their way of life, and exposed to cultures that they are not native to, that they are not what's the word I've used? That they're not native to, right? Then there's a crisis. It's like a leaf that it's cut off from the branch that it's normally supposed to be connected to. Any gust of wind will blow it away. So you find that a lot of Nigerians, Africans, really, particularly young ones, we are very, very much exposed to foreign cultures through social media, through television. Growing up in 20 years ago, television was not as all around you as it is today. TV came on at 4 o'clock, so there were more avenues for you to connect with Earth, connect with your mom and your dad, with your family, with your environment, which are all reinforcers of your culture. Your dad, your mom will tell you stories, your uncles, your aunts. But now, with I don't want to mention names, but let's say Netflix, for instance, it's on demand. The child wakes up at 5 a.m. in the morning and there's something to watch, and not very little to watch things that are rooted with his own identity. You don't find stories about Queen Amina or about Shango, so it's some other hero, some other story that this child is not native to, but they're drawn into at such an early age. And when that happens, the child or the person becomes susceptible to the moral decline that you speak of, because there's no rooting in his own identity, in his own place on this earth. And I think that's, in a nutshell, the connection between a distancing from culture and the moral decline that we see.
Doesn't that imply that other cultures are inherently immoral?
Not necessarily. They're different, but I think what it does, that cutting off from your own roots. Okay, to look at it this way, order and chaos. Order is, you have to work to obtain order. We're in a studio now. Nothing here is functioning by chance. The lights are on, the cameras are working because somebody came out and intentionally turned them on and serviced them. But chaos comes naturally. So connection to your roots enables you to connect to the order of your ancestors from wherever they're coming from. But when you're cut off from that, the immediate response is chaos. Not necessarily because where you're trying to connect to is chaotic, but because you're not connected to that place either. You can't sit down in Nigeria and watch American TV all day and become an American. No, you're not white. And even if you're black, you're still not, you don't speak the language, you're not a member of that society culturally. So even if you want to, maybe over time, if you were to go there and spend a long time and acclimatize, perhaps you might begin to benefit from the order of that place. But initially, you'd first go through a period of chaos, which is you trying to find yourself, making mistakes, because at that point you're lost, you're adrift, I think.
Which the last statement you made has brought to mind forcefully the fact that so many people who jackpad are now jackpading.
Jackpading.
Because they went over there and discovered that Hollywood, or maybe some of the movies they'd watched, had presented a quite a completely different scenario than the reality that they experienced when they went there. But where are we getting it wrong? Let me give an instance with our Asian brothers, for instance. The Chinese, they've somehow been able to maintain a firm grip on their culture and traditions while becoming some of the most advanced people. Where are we getting it wrong in Africa?
I think two things.
That's with Chinese, I'm talking of technological advancement while retaining their cultural values. So where are we getting it wrong?
Okay, in my view, and this is I guess there are many views to this, but in my view, I think one thing that really set us backwards was colonization. then not just the colonization, but the bringing us together in ways that were not organic. Not just in Nigeria now, but look at West Africa, for instance. We're bordered by French-speaking countries on all sides, and that makes it difficult to cooperate and collaborate. I don't want to go into whether that was done deliberately or not. It was done too long ago for us to hold on to that. But it definitely has had an effect. Another thing is this: we're quite young compared to the countries we compare ourselves to. China has. Yes, they were independent, roughly not much different from ours, but their civilization is 5,000 years old, if not more. Another thing is they are mainly mono-ethnic and monolingual. They have variances, but the variances are like the different variances in Yoruba or Igbo.
Okay.
So they can still understand each other, but we have major differences between the Hausa, the Yoruba, the Igbo, where you can't guess what an Igbo person is saying if you're Yoruba or Hausa to Igbo. So these are barriers and walls that you really need to fight to break through. That's one thing. Another thing is the exposure of Africans to Western culture in a way that I think is so ubiquitous that it doesn't allow you even look at what you have. So you spend the whole day wishing, you see so much of foreign culture, particularly the good side of foreign culture, that if you're not careful, you forget you have yours. And this brings us back to what we spoke about, cutting you off. Because sometimes, initially, maybe we're cut off, slavery and all that, but there's how you can be so impressed with the best of somebody else's culture, like the grass being green on the other side, that you cut yourself off. Coming back to the Japa syndrome. A lot of people, some people relocate and emigrate for greener pastures in the sense that what they are gifted to do, maybe music or sports, or trained to do, maybe a specialized discipline, can be best maximized abroad. I can understand that. But you find a lot of people, young people, who maybe have not even finished school or started school, don't have any special skill, and they want to go as well, just thinking that once I get there, everything will be beautiful. And that's not really the case. So I think to catch up with the Japans and the Chinas and the South Koreas, we first of all have to sit back and look inwards. And most importantly, realize that our differences are not so much a problem as they are an asset. Because what it makes you is multi. We all like multifunctional things. You want a car that can fly, that can go underwater. That's what Nigeria can be. If we look at our differences, not as areas for conflict, but as areas of, okay, when we are in Hausa land, you take over because you can speak Hausa. When we're in Igbo land, you take over because you can speak Igbo. That way, the whole collective can adapt and move and succeed wherever it finds itself, instead of what we've turned it into, which is we're so busy fighting with each other. There's no room to even think of innovating and moving forward and catching up with the rest of the world. And one last thing, it's really, really striking, because of all the continents, Africa is the continent that has the mix of a local population and a diaspora population that make it very easy to catch up technologically with the rest of the world, because there's no field of science where you don't have a lot of Africans who are very advanced. So it's just a little bridging of the gap between what our diaspora knows, and getting them to be able to impact the continent with that knowledge.
So still coming back to our culture, specifically in Nigeria,
Yeah.
is there any way of commercializing culture and making a profit out of it?
Yes, definitely.
How?
Definitely. Where do you start? Is it adventure tourism, where people come in and want to visit and see the places that you have? I remember growing up, I always used to get tripped by the fact that Nigeria had the full bouquet. We had oceans, we had an ocean, we had savanna, we had forests, mangrove, all the way up to the north where there's a desert. If somebody's coming to Nigeria, there's nothing you're looking for that you won't find. And that's adventure tourism. Then fashion, arts, it's even gotten better now with what we're doing with music and Afrobeats and cool. And these are
food.
Food, we're not gotten to food, so these are all verticals that could be major earners of revenue to the country. reason why they're not being harnessed, I think, comes back to that initial problem where you forget what you have and you're not looking inwards but looking outwards. You know, so you see a fashion show and it's as though you're seeing people doing very, very, very poor imitations of New York Fashion Week or Paris Fashion Week. You know, when you have inspirations you can draw from here that would make you stand out and draw the attention of the crowds that you are trying to please by copying them. You know, so there's a lot of revenue to be made from culture.
But would you say that our current security profile and our deficit in infrastructure, would these not scare off any potential tourists?
Okay, security profile, let's start with that first.
Which has worsened.
Which has worsened.
Over time.
Over time, you're correct. But South Africa has a very high crime rate as well.
I understand you could get mugged at the airport.
At the airport, at the hotel. Some cities, let me not go into denigrating South Africa, but they have security issues as well. Mexico has serious security issues. Brazil has, you know, Egypt is on the cusp of the Middle East crisis on different sides, you know, but all these countries generate significant revenue from tourism. And I think it's just a targeted approach where the government realizes, okay, people would want to come to this country. How do we assure them that if they come to these areas or to that area, it's safe? If a tourist comes in and he knows from the airport there's a plan and he sees some sort of concerted effort, you know, and it just takes one or two to come and to go back without any issues. Take, for instance, 30 December last year in Lagos. I don't know what they did that made that crowd come in, but before then, Lagos hasn't been exempt from issues of security or issues of low security perception. You know, area boys and all that, Agueros. But the city was full and there were no bad reports. And for that reason, this year, I read a report this morning that you can't get an Airbnb to book in Lagos right now because they're all waiting for December, 2 months to December. You know, so that's the anticipation for this year's crowd coming in. So if people come in, you take 3 or 4 or 5 people, they come in, they have a good time, they take pictures, and in this age of social media, pictures speak 1,000 words. And they go back without any thing happening to them. You've moved the dial backwards on perception, you know. So, and that's on the security bits. On the infrastructure bits, I don't think too many tourists are coming to Africa because they want to stay in a 5-star hotel. They have 5-star hotels in London and New York and Paris. They are coming to Africa for an authentic experience. What they are looking for are the basics: a safe environment without mosquitoes, obviously, a cool environment to sleep at night. But beyond that, they want to explore. They want to see the forests. They want to see the lions in Yankari. They want to see the deserts in Yusufari. They want to see the Durbas. They want to come and buy authentic African furniture. They want to eat authentic African food. They're not looking for a Sheraton to stay in.
Yeah, but when you are now talking about the hospitality industry,
okay,
when I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about things like public power supply, roads.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. I get you.
You know, you want to open a tap and see water flowing.
In that regard,
you want to be able to use hot water in your hotel room and not have somebody bring it for you in a pail.
Bucket, I understand.
You know, things like that. Don't you think?
No, there's a lot of work that the government. That's totally on the government's table.
Yeah.
It's a handshake between the government and the private sector, but the government definitely has to take that into cognizance. We need good road networks. Good road network. We need flights that take off and land on time. Those are things that the government's remit. So definitely that has to be done.
Yeah. And on the flip side, we do have some semblance of what is obtainable in Western countries. But then that part that would actually attract the tourist, we're also getting rid of because we think we're modernizing things. My heart broke when I heard that the government of Cross River State, I don't know which particular, I will not mention any names, they have these rocks that have carvings in them.
I heard that story too.
And I understand that those things were demolished. First of all, even the local population are not too certain what those things are, but they've been there for a long time. And these are things that stand a particular place out. For instance, you won't find such things in Benue State. You probably won't find them in the far north. So those things were peculiar
Yeah.
to Cross River State, and they've been obliterated. And not just that, I think that there are certain aspects of our culture that we think we're modernizing
Yeah.
when in fact we're actually throwing
Yeah,
away, demolishing or trashing. How does that help tourism? Because like you rightly pointed out, nobody's coming from the UK to come and admire a hotel. They don't want to see the hotel. They want to see what the typical Nigerian looks like in their
In their natural
local
setting.
environment.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
we are throwing those things away.
Yeah, correct. I heard that story. I'm not sure. Is it Akwa Ibom or Cross River? I'm not sure.
One of the two.
I'm not
think
sure,
it was
but I
Cross
heard
River.
it and it was heartbreaking. Those monoliths were
Monoliths,
yeah,
yes, I think.
prehistoric to there are not many. In fact, there's no living Nigerian who can tell you where they came from. You know, the
Precisely.
people that built them or set them up or put them there are all dead and gone. You know, so they are, in a sense, they are like the pyramids of Egypt for us. It was very sad to hear that story, and it goes back to throwing away what you have because you think what somebody else has is better than yours. And one thing that really made me think was, I think it was Queen Elizabeth, her death, the procession for her burial. There was a point where there was a very traditional event that took place in the procession where there were some guys that came with some robes and they covered her casket with some sort of thing. And you could tell that that was ancient English culture.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on there was very ancient and very cultural. It had nothing to do with what we have most identified with the colonial masters, which was the Christianity. You know, and it made me also makes me laugh when I remember that they came in, they demonized all our culture, our art pieces, but they took them away and they're still displaying them in the museum.
they're still
still
holding
now.
on to those things.
Not just holding on
refuse
to
to let
them.
them go.
Not just holding on, they're displaying them. So you can go there and view them, you know, and it all speaks to the same thing where you are so ashamed of what you are and where you're coming from because you've been brainwashed to think.
And that brings me to my next question, which I think revolves around the possibility of an inferiority complex.
Oh, there definitely is.
Is it possible that we just don't value who we intrinsically are because we've been made to believe that what somebody else has is better than what we have?
We have been, but it's not intrinsic. It's trained. You know, a 2-year-old child, if you give them two toys, a figure of Captain America and a figure of the Idia face mask from Benin, wouldn't value either one of them above the other. There are those two things to play with. In fact, she or he might be more impressed with the face mask because it's more artistically, there's more artistry in it. She's seen a figure, she's seen her dad, but this figure has carvings and has etches and designs. That might even be more intriguing. So it probably is superior. But there's no Avengers movie featuring the Edo Kingdom or the Idia face mask. When that child grows to 5 and 10 and watches Netflix and Amazon, that's when the brainwashing starts. All she sees are heroes that are white or heroes that are in New York or heroes that are in America, and there's nothing about Africa and nothing about Nigeria. You know, so that's where the inferiority complex is programmed in. But whatever is programmed in can be programmed out. You know, all it takes, and now there are business models that make it possible to do these things profitably. What it takes is to begin to showcase your culture, showcase your heroes.
You think there's somewhere Nollywood can play a role in here? I'm particularly concerned about the fact that when Nollywood does try to project things that are specific to Nigerian culture, it almost always winds up in witchcraft.
Yes.
Like that's literally the only thing Nollywood is able to
Yes.
showcase of deep African culture.
Witchcraft or some sort of wickedness to the house help. You know, those are the two tropes that just keep on being pushed back and forth, back and forth. But there's so much more that could be done and that should be done. You know, even in nation building, even in propping up security agencies and agencies that, let's not even say agencies of government, but agencies that are constitutionally empowered to make life better for the Nigerian and to secure Nigeria. Nollywood has a big role to play in giving them, making them more acceptable to the Nigerian population. You find a lot of movies in America that make the military seem superhuman.
True.
Or that make the police, SWAT, seem, you know, more than what they are. And it's not by mistake. They are supported and funded by federal agencies and say, okay, there's a perception by this community that the police are this and that. How do you correct it? And say, let's do a movie, let's do a series. And they get funding for it and they do it. You know, Nollywood hasn't gotten there yet. Hopefully we will. It's evolving and getting quite better in terms of execution and producing and shooting and lighting. The missing element is the writing, so that the stories that you tell serve a purpose. Right now, that's a bit of random. You know, the quality is better.
Production quality has improved significantly,
improved a
but
lot.
certainly something more could be done with the storylines.
Yes.
And
The
maybe
writing,
to a
the
certain
writing.
degree, execution, and so on. So we've touched on different ways in which perhaps the state could make money from tourism. What about the everyday Nigerian? Is there any way that the everyday Nigerian could benefit from more tourists coming into the country?
Yes, definitely. Everybody coming in wants to go back with a memento. I bought this, I took this away. You see T-shirts like I went to New York, I went to, you know, and there are so many low-hanging fruits. For some reason, we have dropped the ball, the private sector, not necessarily the Dangotes and the Boas of this world, but even just the regular person who has 10,000 naira to invest. You know, okay, I want to make T-shirts to sell this December. You know, and I have 100,000 naira. I'm going to make T-shirts and I'm going to brand them. Welcome. I went to Lagos. I went to Abuja. You know, people come and they all want to go away with something authentic, something of good quality. You know, and there are so many tools now for an entrepreneur to build something, make a fashion piece while they are here, sell food to them, advertise, because the crowd is coming in this December, you know, and to advertise to them, to get them to show what you have to sell. I think one thing that's really important is to make sure that what you're selling to them is of good quality.
Yeah.
One, I know somebody who sells food, a particular kind of spice that she sells in a jar. She started in Lagos, she lives in Lagos. I know she sells significant numbers to customers abroad, mainly Nigerians. When they go back, they can't find that kind of spice in London. So she ships to them almost throughout the year. You know, and that's one opportunity. The same thing with fashion, the same thing with art pieces, artworks. As long as your pricing is fair and your quality is good, you will sell. You will break into the market.
Now you see, one part that is somewhat disheartening for people who are not based in Lagos is that, okay, let's take it that Lagos has had a long-established reputation as business, the entertainment hub of Nigeria, the home of business in Nigeria and so on. So it seems like everything happens in Lagos and ends in Lagos.
Yes.
So you hear about Dirty December.
Yes.
When are we hearing of Glorious Abuja or Marvelous Benue? It seems like everything just begins and ends in Lagos State.
Okay.
What's the problem?
It's culture, because you have cultures within cultures. Lagos State has a culture for business. I think the competition based on the population, right, has forced them to develop that. You know, if you want to sell something, it's the biggest market. If you go there, you get someone to buy it. So sellers go there, buyers go there. You know, but the beauty about Nigeria is our population. A lot of people say our population is a problem. I think it's an opportunity if we harness it. Abuja has between 6 and 9 million people, I think, in that range. So if you sell to 1% of that, that's 60,000 people. There are not many things you are selling that you would be able to cater to that crowd. Mm-hmm. Another thing is this. I don't know if you know, there's a platform, I'll mention the name. There's a platform online. It's like the Amazon of Nigeria. Can I mention the name?
No.
Okay. Okay, right. So if you go there and you want to buy something and you specify Abuja, after the first 3 people selling, all the rest are in Lagos, but they still put Abuja addresses. It's at the point of payment. They tell you
they're
that
in Lagos, but they're putting Abuja addresses.
Because even from Lagos, that's the hustling culture of Lagos. From Lagos, they're still trying to reach out and chop Abuja money.
Wow,
you know, by the 4th
crazy.
or 5th person you call, I'm in Lagos, I'm just going to pick something. It's not true. You're in Lagos, you know. So I think for that, the idea is just for them to be as entrepreneurial as possible.
Well, I'm sorry, I'll have to cut you off here, but we'll come right back to this and continue from where we're taking this break.
Right.
I'll be back shortly after this.
Welcome to Unusari Sand Dunes and Oasis. This is Yobe! Pride of the Sahel.
In case you're wondering, those are the sights and sounds of Yobe State, and that was a beautiful desert. I understand you were part of the team that went visiting there, and the person that spoke was the commissioner?
Yes, for commerce and tourism.
Of Yobe State.
Alhaji Kaigama Umar.
Okay, that's good. Now, as part of efforts to reposition tourism in the country, you are currently working on a project. Would you want to tell us more about that?
Okay, it's a desert race and safari. You know what happened in Lagos a couple of weeks ago?
No.
There was a boat race,
Oh, okay.
like the equivalent of the Formula One, but there's a series for boats, speedboats, solar-powered speedboats. You know, so something similar to that, but this will be in the desert. So, desert race and safari. There's a local government called Yusufari. It's like 3 hours from the capital. You know, so we're taking drivers, taking jeeps, and there's not a lot of infrastructure. Going back to what you said, to support a large crowd, you know, but we'll make sure that it's well covered online, you know, and on TV, so that people can watch from wherever they are in the world.
And what's the purpose of this activity?
The idea is to begin to uncover the tourism potential of the north, starting from the north, because those are the areas that are really, really, really abandoned, not even talked about or touched at all. But there are a lot of really beautiful places in the north, from Yobe, the deserts, to Taraba, Mambila, parts of Taraba that you will not believe are in Nigeria. the highlands, similar to what you have in Obudu. Then the culture as well, the Durbas. There are plans for a grand Durbar in Kaduna. So basically uncovering the tourism potential of the north, the cultural assets and tourism potential of northern Nigeria.
Oh, so when you say north, are we talking core north? Are we talking north and middle belt? Because middle belt is essentially north central.
North central. We're talking of the 19 states.
19 states of the
north, east, west, and central, and the FCT.
Oh, and the FCT,
and
yeah.
The FCT.
We keep forgetting.
Yeah.
So FCT is technically north.
It's technically
right?
north.
Yeah.
Some people like that, but
no, it's true. It's smack in the middle,
yes.
but our culture, the weather, and everything just
yes.
shows that it's north.
Then also the language.
Yeah.
There are lots of Hausa speakers in Oja.
Hausa, well, let's not offend the Baggy people.
I
They'll feel bad.
I understand. You're right.
So, in addition to Yobe State,
yes,
what should other states expect?
They should expect a concerted effort to publicize their cultural assets, combined with a platform that enables the businesses in their states that will serve the tourists that we plan to attract, for those businesses to be empowered, to be trained, to be given the tools and guidance that they need, to be able to serve the tourists that come in a way that the tourists come back, in a nutshell. So basically a closed loop of the tourism ecosystem.
So apparently the safari in Yobe State is gradually becoming a global event. And for this year, what you have is the
race and safari.
Is the race and safari. Okay? So what should those that are participating in the event expect? Or rather, how is it being coordinated?
It's, okay, first of all, it's being coordinated in conjunction, strong partnership with the state government through the Ministry of Commerce and Tourism in Yobe State. So what we're having is, I don't know if you've seen the Dakar Rally.
Yeah.
So basically it's a race in the desert. It's endless stretches of sand. So the tracks and the layouts will be sorted out, funny enough, this next week. So we're going to Yobe next week to finalize that. At which point, shortly after, then the details will be released with the track list, with if you want to compete and take place, although it's a very grueling, in fact, the discussion right now is still contemplating whether to use local drivers who know the terrain, whether to open it up to the public. We're still not sure about that, but expect to have the Dakar Rally repeated here in Yobe.
And for those who might want to participate, how are there tickets to be bought?
Oh, yes.
What's the process?
Tickets are not on sale yet, sadly.
Okay.
But as soon as they are, maybe I'll come back here and let you know. But they'll be widely publicized when they go on sale.
Okay.
We're trying to just cross all the T's and dot all the I's.
Yeah, very important.
Then
the desert will be no joke.
It's no joke. Then even from the security bit, we're also trying to finalize arrangements with the military to be sure that the routes from wherever you're coming from Abuja or from Kano or from Lagos, that the routes are secure and also the location is secure. So all those are final details that we're putting in place.
Will this be open to people who are not currently living in Nigeria?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. If you can take out the time to come in and to come there, we are actually hoping to bleed off a bit of the crowd that will come in December and show them other parts of Nigeria.
Okay.
Since even last year, I understand that the accommodation was not enough for the crowd that came in.
You said so.
Yeah, so you can just hop from Lagos to Abuja, then we'll take you from there to Yusufari and back.
Yeah, because I think you're going to need these people that are coming from outside, because I don't see the average Nigerian getting up to go and suffer in the desert. Am I being sarcastic?
No, you're being a bit.
I'm trying to be realistic.
No, you're being a bit myopic. We don't need to take.
Oh, my feelings are hurt.
I'm sorry. We don't need 5,000 people to come.
Okay.
To actually take part. And when you look at the numbers and percentages, that's the beauty of our population. If 1% of the population buy into what you're selling, in most cases you sell out. So that's what we're leveraging on. Then also, because it's the inaugural event, what we're using this to do is like to showcase. Then we have discussions with the government ongoing for them to begin to ramp up facilities, infrastructure, accommodation, and hospitality because it's going to be an annual thing. It's not just a one-off. It's annual, definitely. So that by the next edition and the third edition, then we can begin to accommodate larger crowds of both participants and audience.
And what does True North hope to gain out of this?
True North is a business community, digital business community that is multi-sectoral. So what our objective is to develop the workforce across sectors in a way that is beneficial to them, profitable to them, but also that develops the industry that they work in. We're starting with tourism and creative economy, and we're trying to build models that empower the businesses and service providers, but also give the customers a good experience. So we hope that if we do this, then gradually we can revive or build mini ecosystems across different sectors that demonstrates the viability of the northern economy.
Why are you more concerned about the North?
True North is a pilot for a nationwide rollout. So we're starting in the North because it's greenfield in almost all sectors. There's not a lot going on in most sectors, or rather there's room. That's not fair. There's room for more players in almost all sectors, from tech to sports to tourism to creative economy. There's room for you to come in, And to be frank, we've actually had a very, very good reception almost everywhere we've gone. So it's just made good business sense to start here because there's room to grow and to succeed, then to use that experience and to roll out the rest of the country.
So let's come to you, Mr. David Atta.
Yes.
Can you tell us why your mind pushed you in this direction? What was the thought process behind establishing True North?
The thought process behind establishing True North was, to be honest, and not trying to sound one kind, was to be able to, in 10 years' time, I have 4 girls, in 10 years' time, be able to take them around a trip of their own country without having to get a visa, and to feel as proud as they would as an American child or a Spanish child or a Switzerland child would feel going around their own country. We have everything that those countries have. What we lack is just connecting the dots between service delivery, security, infrastructure, and people understanding that if you render a good service, you get return customers, you make more money by doing a good job. So that's the essence of True North. Demonstrating to businesses that if you keep your word to a customer that comes in and says, do you have air conditioners in your room? And you say yes. Or if you don't, you say no, but we have a fan. Just tell the truth. Let the person know what they're getting into. The person will come back with his friends, and your business begins to grow. And that same principle applies across all sectors. We've imbibed a culture of, you experience all the time. You ask a tailor, can you sew this thing by Friday? Yes, I can, yes, I can, yes, I can. He can't. He knows he can't. But he just wants you to pay that initial deposit. And once you pay it, in most cases, that's the last money he'll get from you. And it's not a sustainable model. And it leads to widespread poverty. And you're not sure which poverty is based on. It's based on his own laziness, on a bad economy.
Well, so thank you for being a part of our show this week.
My pleasure.
It's been great talking to you, Mr. Atta.
My pleasure.
So that's it for this week. That the nation stands to gain a lot from her rich cultural and tourism potentials is not in doubt. As we grapple with various challenges, it is, however, pertinent to note that we all have a great role to play in this quest for cultural rejuvenation, while government integrates culture and tourism into its overall development plan. Traditional and cultural leaders should also help in repositioning the sector. The citizenry must also return to their roots in order to resolve this crisis of identity currently afflicting many of us. If this episode has resonated with you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share, subscribe, and join us every Saturday at 5 p.m. for more refreshing episodes of the program. Until then, from Deva Hamation Mom, it's bye for now.